Let me go across to Dr. Subramanian Swamy. He's joining us here on the show. Other than being a BJP MP, he's also an activist. He's written several letters demanding a CBI probe. So the first question to you, Dr. Swamy, at a time when the Mumbai Police from day one came out and said this is a case of suicide, what led you to believe that there was some kind of foul play involved?
First of all, the Bombay Police made this statement but did not register an FIR. And even today, they haven't registered an FIR. Mm-hmm. How many days have passed? Maybe 55 days or something?
48 days.
48, yes. So, no FIR. I mean, FIR is to be registered the moment a complaint is brought or the police sees a crime scene. They register an FIR. They can make it generally worded that found the dead body of Sushant Rajput, and it appears to have been an unnatural death. So therefore, FIR. And then they launch the investigation. To date, they have not done. Question is why? Number one. Number two, the postmortem report says provisional. And yet they have concluded that it is suicide. The Bombay Police has interpreted that to be suicide. On the contrary, the hospital has sent to the forensic department the viscera, that means parts of Sushant's body, and his nails, chop a little part of his nails, and sent it for examination whether there has been poisoning in his body. And that report has still not come. And so, as far as the Bombay is concerned, there is no real, according to this criminal procedure code, any investigation. This is police inquiry is going on. And the only FIR we have is that of Bihar.
But Dr. Swamy, even till yesterday, the Mumbai Police came out and said we have the viscera report, we have the postmortem report. All of them are consistently saying that there is no foul play involved, which is why we are having the show. We've shown all of this material which is available to us, videos as well as pictures, to forensic experts. And what's interesting, Dr. Swamy, in all of this are the ligature marks, which are going to be very crucial because they don't seem to be very consistent with hanging by a cloth. Do you think there is something amiss in the way that the Mumbai Police is conducting the probe?
Well, that's what I was coming to. The fact of the matter is that the closed-circuit TV was fused. Why? How? And the fact of the matter is that there is no one who says that, amongst the close friends, who says that Sushant was the suicide type. He was a fighter. He may have been depressed. People, everybody goes through a cycle of depression when some bad event comes. There are reports of people who have come on your television to say that he was worried that he might be killed. So I'm saying that since the Bombay Police has a very close proximity with the Bollywood, and this is such a high voltage case now with the whole country in demand, I think there should be a CBI inquiry. I don't understand why the Maharashtra government is opposing it. I mean, they didn't oppose it when it came to the INX case and Indrani Mukherjee's matter. They handed it over to CBI. And such matters which are now multi-state, because there are two states now involved, the CBI inquiry is the obvious thing to do. This resistance itself is very suspicious.
Well, it's very interesting. Already we have the Bihar Chief Minister coming out and saying that if the parents ask for a CBI probe, if the father appeals for him directly, they are ready to consider a CBI probe. Well, here on Times Now, what we've done is gone through very closely the video of the crime scene. This is the room of Sushant Singh Rajput, and we are going to tell you what the experts have dissected out of what is available to us. What you can see on your screens here, that piece of cloth is part of the cloth which is hanging very low on the bed. The reason why that is very important, forensic experts tell us that Sushant Singh Rajput was a tall actor. He was 5'10", which means that the distance between the bed and the fan needs to be adequate enough if he did hang, as per what the Mumbai Police have said. What seems to be amiss in all of that, there is a part of it where you can see the cloth hanging, and there you have it, it's hanging very low to the bed. That is one of the red flags which have been raised by the police. The second point, and this is also regarding this piece of cloth, is that the part of the cloth was seen lying on the bed as well. You can see not just this bit, but there is another piece of cloth which is lying on the bed. It is very clearly visible. Then why is it that there is a piece of cloth which is first hanging, and then the same piece of cloth you can see lying on the bed as well? The third part, which is also rather inconsistent as per the forensic expert, is that there is this little place between the bed and fan to hang, as we are showing. This is the space which is available, if it is to be believed, as the Mumbai Police have been claiming, that Sushant Singh Rajput was on his bed and then he hung himself from the fan. Is there adequate space between the fan and the bed for him to hang? Because this is one piece of the green cloth which is lying on the bed. There's another piece which is hanging from the ceiling. So what really is it that isn't adding up? How is it possible that he possibly hung himself? Also, there is no small stool or table which is near the bed. As you can see, a quick sweep of the entire room that we saw in the video which was preceding it, you saw that there isn't any stool, any small furniture where he could have propped himself up and then taken that final step, if the Mumbai Police version is to be believed. Which is why we are getting you what really happened at the time when the police found his body. They went inside the room. Here's a clipping of what they were discussing and what really happened as they tried to decode what led to that untimely demise of the very talented actor. Well, that of course was a candid conversation between the Mumbai Police, saying that something's going to go wrong if these videos are leaked. But Dr. Swamy, if I can come to you, we were looking at the room where he allegedly took his own life, and there are several inconsistencies which are coming to light. And one thing which is very disturbing is the presence of injury marks on Sushant Singh Rajput. In fact, there are those who are saying it's consistent with some kind of a struggle, perhaps even restraint.
Yes, well, I have in fact put on the media, through the social media, about 26 points which any forensic expert would look at, of which 24 point to the fact that it can only happen those like the marks that you have mentioned. You've done, I must congratulate Times Now for this research. But 24 out of 26 only are consistent with murder, and only 2 could be both, one of the 2. I mean, it could be either. So therefore, now you have done exposed it completely thoroughly. I don't think the Bombay Police has any leg to stand on. And at the moment, I can only say that if I could presume it was done innocently, that they have goofed. And if they have goofed, then they should be ready to recommend to the Chief Minister that please hand this over to the CBI, because it's now too high old age for the Bombay Police to manage the law and order, corona, and so many other things, and also provide the staff for the kind of in-depth analysis that needs to be done. So this should be handled by the CBI.
Absolutely. Well, here on Times Now, we are not trying to take any sides. We simply want the truth to come out. This is something that the entire nation wants. He was much loved and he was clearly a very talented person. We just want to know what led to him to take this extreme step, if the Mumbai Police is to be believed, or if there was any foul play. All of that needs to come out, and that's all we are seeking here on Times Now. Dr. Swamy, stay with us. Another one of the things that you have already touched upon, and this is very important, the psychological aspect, the psychological profiling, which is so very important. Remember, the probe by the Mumbai Police has so far revolved around this being a suicide, with emphasis being laid on an alleged mental condition that may have prompted Sushant to take this extreme step. However, the police so far, incidentally, have not yet drawn out a psychological profile of this. So what really led to that fateful night? Was it depression? Here are the inconsistencies. We spoke to some of the experts. The first inconsistency is that, as reported, Sushant Singh Rajput was playing video games till early in the morning of 14th June. Later on, he took his own life, as per the reports. Now, there wasn't any sign of depression. Many are saying this indicates that he seems to be in a relatively happy mood. Also, another inconsistency is that of him speaking about his wedding in the last call that he had made, which shows that he was hopeful of a future, a happy future. It doesn't seem like someone who wants to take his own life would be thinking about what his future holds for him. Also, interestingly, there was no suicide note which has been found so far, 48 days later. The absence of a note shows that what would have happened, it may have been something which would have happened suddenly, he didn't have time, or something suspicious about it, isn't it? Also, the fact that there was the death, the suicide or the murder, again, this is a rather mysterious death of someone who was very close to Sushant Singh Rajput, that is Disha Salian. She fell off the balcony. The police are, of course, probing whether it was death by some foul play or if it was suicide. But what's interesting is within a week, within 8 days to be precise, first Disha died, followed by Sushant. She was also managing him earlier, managed him, and also a close friend. Isn't it a bit too mysterious and suspicious that both of them would die under very mysterious circumstances within 8 days of each other? Also, the fact that Sushant Singh Rajput changed his SIM cards very often, an attempt to shield himself from threats, is the question that many are asking. Also, there was no financial crisis. We've spoken here on Times Now to his CA, to his friends. They've all said he's an A-lister, he had adequate funds. It was not a monetary crisis that he was facing. So let me go back across to Dr. Swamy. Dr. Swamy, in the case of Sunanda Pushkar, immediately there was a psychological profiling which was done. Why do you think the Mumbai Police has not done this, even though their main angle is that he was depressed?
Well, your own question has the answer. They didn't want to do it. If they are not going to register an FIR, because then that would mean all kinds of sections of the CRPC which will come into play and will tie the hands of the police. Therefore, they didn't register an FIR. And they say that they have got a forensic report. I'd like to see it. It has not been, to my knowledge, it is still not come back to the hospital. So I don't know how the Bombay Police has got it unless they have gone out of the usual procedure and got it directly. So what is this desire to make it into a suicide? Why did the Bombay Police say on the very first day it's suicide when they hadn't even done basic investigation? All the investigation that you have done, they should have done. And now at least they should take hold, look at the kind of work you have done and take a stand that now all options are open and we will start ab initio. Otherwise, the best thing for them to do to save their prestige, whatever is left of it now, is to ask the Maharashtra government to recommend a CBI inquiry, because I don't think now there'll be any credibility of Bombay Police examining, no matter how hard they work on this.
In fact, a very interesting interview that our group editor Navika Kumar has done is with Ankita Lokhande. She is the one who lived with Sushant Singh Rajput for 7 long years. We've spoken to his inner circle. We've also spoken to people who knew him so very well. So we're going to take a short break, but we'll get you that excerpt, and also Dr. Swamy is going to tell us why it's so crucial that someone had a diary, which mysteriously no one knows where it is right now, but that diary had a roadmap. He used to have 5-year plans and he used to execute them. Would a person like that want to take his own life? A small town boy, what really went bad in this success story? That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere.